Whew. So, ladies, we finally got here. A little bit of scrabbling around and letting people in and copying passwords and all of that sort of stuff. But anyway, you're here. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining me this evening as we delve into the topic of what it takes to become a confident emotional woman. And I've chosen this topic because I know that there's many people I've been talking with recently who feel a little bit tentative about trusting themselves emotionally. They've maybe had some sort of reactive conversations with people at work or people in the family. Excuse me, don't know where that came from, and that it has challenged them, and it sort of puts them on the back foot around how they can best navigate their relationships around life, because we experience our life through our emotions all the time, and the fact that we are very much emotional beings implies that in order to get the best out of our lives, we need to be able to manage our emotions. I trust this is landing with you, because I think that to be in a reactive state the whole time, which is what we're in when we're sort of feeling in that sort of freeze, fight, flight sort of mode, that's our reaction, our instinct reaction. And loads of people are living like that, I'm sure you've met people like that who just sort of flare up as soon as you say something, yeah? So rather than that, what I'd love to be able to tool you up with is a bit of understanding as to how we can actually manage our emotions and therefore really make a difference in the quality of the life that we lead. Because as a coach, as a women's confidence coach, my whole mission is to help empower women to connect to that inner power, to be able to exude the radiance of who they truly are. But if we're constantly living in reaction of who we, sort of really don't want to be, the sort of intrusive emotions that come over and take us over, then we're not actually getting the best out of ourselves, and we're not giving the best of us to anybody else, and that absolutely bloody sucks. Here comes Stephanie. So good evening, Steph. I trust you can hear me there. Okay, so welcome, Steph. You haven't missed very much. I've just been sort of giving a little bit of a preamble into what we're discussing this evening. And what I'd love is at the end of the evening, if it's okay with you, what I'd love to be able to do is share with you a quick way that you can actually work with me can't even say it. Work with me for free. Hey, Steph, now you can hear me. So if that's going to be okay with you, we'll just touch on that briefly at the end of the webinar. All right. So, but wholly and solely, my purpose, thank you for the thumbs up, Janine. My purpose tonight is to give you some really great value around how best to start managing your emotions. So what I'd love to invite you to do right now is to open up the chat box, which is somewhere on your screen or your phone or wherever it is, and just send me a little message saying hi and where you're from, so that we can see in the chat where you are. Some of you are in Sydney. I know, Steph, you're up at Coffs, and other ladies are in Central Coasty sort of area. You're in Port Macquarie tonight. Yes, of course you are. Silly me. Why did I think you were in Coffs? I don't know. I don't know. Silly me. But you know, the beauty of it now is that I've got now the chat screen open up on my laptop over here. So if you see me looking in this direction, I'm looking at the laptop to see the chat, because, you know, you may want to ask me questions or make comments. And you know, I can read them there, and you can all read them there too. So hey, from Hamlin Terrace, Amy, and Simonia in Newcastle. Ice Place, Stephanie? Ice? Nice, I think. I got you. And Bronya, you're in Sydney? Yes. And Janine's on the Central Coast. And you're all looking great too. Thanks very much, Steph. Really appreciate that. So, let me see now. Starting off with this evening, I don't know what drew you into this webinar this evening, but I know that as I wrote the piece, the content, as it were, for the event in Facebook, and likewise for the meetup content, it's all exactly the same. I was thinking, you know, what was it that has really held me back for a longest time, and not being able to express myself? And I think that for me, it was that when I was growing up, my parents were very much in the mold of children should be seen and not heard. You know, sort of just keep yourself clean, darling, and go and sit over there. Don't pipe up until we ask you. You know, when we want your opinion, we'll ask. And, you know, sort of now is not the right time for the activity you want to do, or the question you want to ask, whatever it was. I just always felt like I was being shut down. And I just wonder whether or not that resonates for any of you. Is there anybody else who had that sort of thing going on? Steph, yep, great. And I'm seeing a few nods around the screen. The habit of putting ourselves on the back burner, the habit of not expressing ourselves is very easily sort of taken on as we grow through life, and we just continue that cycle of not speaking up, of not putting ourselves forward, and which means that as an adult, it's very difficult to try and form really sincere relationships, because we know how much we're holding ourselves back. So what if the person we're talking to is also not really speaking their truth? What if they are also slightly putting on a false show? Am I sort of hitting a nerve here? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, thumbs up. That's good. So we learn through that process to minimize ourselves, that our feelings are not important. We learn that our feelings don't really matter. And by default, when we unpack all of that, what it really means is that we don't really matter. And I think that sadly, there are so many people around the world who have this belief about themselves that they're not important. So we strive, you know, oh God, I'm trying to think what it's called. I know, it's sort of little dog syndrome. Do you know the little dogs? They're always whoop, 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 they make more noise than big dogs sometimes, don't they? Yeah. And so as little people, we know that we need to be seen, right? But as big people, we tend to just recede into the background and hope that nobody's going to notice us, right? And that sucks. That totally sucks. So what we're going to do this evening is we're going to take a little journey through our emotional range, as it were, try and unpack some of the emotions that we're familiar with, and look for other emotions that could be useful to either break the pattern of a habit that we've got in going to anger or something. We might find something else that we can put in that place. But basically to arm you with some more resources emotionally that will help you widen your experience of yourself and therefore widen your experience of somebody else. All right. So to start this process, where do we begin? We're going to start at the very beginning. And I trust that you have all got something to write with and something to write on. All right. If not, go and grab something so that you. All right, good, Steph. Go and grab yourself some writing material so that you can participate in this first exercise. And Amy, you're having dinner at the same time. That's great. I'm so glad. Hopefully you can still write for a couple of minutes. Put your knife and fork down. Oh, Steph, I love that smile on your notebook. Very good. Very good. All right, so ladies, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song, or a piece of music, actually. It's not really a song. I'm going to play a piece of music, and what I'd invite you to do, it's only a couple of minutes long. I want you to start with today and think either backwards or forwards, whichever way you like. What are some of the emotions that I have experienced today? What are the key things that I know I've felt? And I want you to start with today, and then I want you to go to yesterday. All right? Because once we've got a little bit of an idea of what sort of emotions you are experiencing, then we can take it from there. Okay, here comes a song. So, how did you go with that? How did you go? I trust that you have managed to, yes, to do something. Good. So, what I'd like to do is just, let me see now, pop you into a bit of a breakout room. There we go. All right, so I'm going to put you into a breakout room, ladies, so that you can have a wee chat about the emotions that you have written down. And just for a couple of minutes, so if you sort of have maybe 2 minutes each or something, if I make the breakout room for 5 minutes, then that will be plenty of time, wouldn't it? So just say what it is that you have discovered about your emotional range in the last couple of days, and see if there's a bit of a theme. All right, so there's going to be a button coming up on your screen in a moment, and I want you to click that and go to the breakout rooms, and I'll see you shortly. Very noisy frog. And here you come back again. Okay, so Simone and Janine, you come rip-roaring back. And there's Bronya. And hopefully Steph is on her way back somewhere. Or have I lost her? Okay, so now here she is. So, ladies, what did you discover? I'd love to know. Who's got a share? Who's got some thoughts on what they discovered and what's going on? Who'd like to open the batting there? Simone.
We were trying to work out the difference between, and I think it came up on as a chat question just before we went into breakout room, the difference between emotions and feelings. Like, you can be, like, you look at someone and think you're really confident, but then they can be like an emotional wreck, or they can be, and go on, I don't understand the difference between feeling and emotion.
So a feeling is like, you know, when you touch something, you can feel it. It's got a sensation to it.
Yep.
Right? An emotion is like it's sort of coming up as an emotion is coming up from inside.
Yep.
Right? So, for example, if I was to share with you some of the things that I was experiencing today, I didn't actually go beyond today in my little notes here before I sent you in, or while you were in the breakout room. But I was thinking that, so this morning I just didn't want to get out of bed. I think that's a feeling, right? But then I started to panic. Now that's an emotion, panic. So I was panicking because I was potentially going to be late. And then I got frustrated, really frustrated and pissed off with myself for getting myself into that state where I was starting to not be functional, because I had to be somewhere quite early this morning. I was also quite frustrated that I couldn't get the technology to work. I mean, technology and me has just been not my friend today. But then once the meeting this morning got going, it was, it was a pleasure to be there. I felt really happy. I felt so content to be in that room with people, and I was listening, I was learning, so it was actually quite exciting, some of the things that I was learning. So I was there, I was curious, I was interested. So these are some of the emotions I was feeling, right? But if it's just a sort of a body sensation, like, like, as I said, I didn't want to get out of bed this morning. That's not an emotion. That's just a feeling. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, good. Bronya, you've got your hand up and your thumb in your mouth, but let me put it onto speaker view.
Going to share my experience when you were ready.
Yes.
So what I found is that the positive emotions were really easy to come up with. But when it came to thinking about the more negative emotions, another part of my mind jumped in and tried to shut me down and say, no, you didn't really feel that.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
It was like some part of me was not giving myself permission to feel those feelings.
Yeah. Okay. So, maybe somewhere along the line we've learned, or you've learned, that those types of feelings are not appropriate.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bugger that. I mean, I know that sometimes negative feelings are not, they're not nice to feel. Like, I mean, as I was saying, I was feeling panic and frustrated and pissed off. You know, those aren't nice feelings. They're quite sort of antsy in my body, but they're good in a sense that they can provide a little bit of fuel to whatever needs to be done during the day, if that makes sense. Yeah. So we don't want to negate those sorts of emotions totally. Having them around is quite a good thing to do. That makes sense. So who else has got something? Thank you so much, Bronya. I really appreciate your share there. And maybe, you know, sort of what you've just said landed with others in the room here tonight. Yeah. Yeah, Steph's clapping. Yeah. I've had to close the window because the frogs outside were making such a horrendous din. I'm going to try and open it again. Excuse me. Are they very noisy? No, they've quietened down now. Whew. Anybody else got a share? Steph, you look as if you're leaning into.
I am. I am slightly challenged still at clarification. Not okay. So this morning you felt like you didn't want to get out of bed. So
Yeah.
so that was tired. So is tired the feeling then, or is tired an emotion? So is exhaustion the emotion, or is that a feeling? Or
No, I'd say that those are emotional states. Exhaustion is an emotional state. Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Because it's like stress is an emotional state.
Oh,
You know, when we
Okay.
when we get ourselves into stress, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff happening, but you know, sort of to get that feeling, that emotion of stress and the panic or whatever that goes along with it.
yeah.
These are, when they're habitual, they become a little bit of sort of like a sort of a shortcut into, like I think it was happening for me this morning. I'd have to put my hand up for this morning. You know, having created a calendar that there was back to back with appointments. And in fact, I had a coaching call with Simone this morning, and I rang her from the car saying, I'm late, I'm in the car, there's a traffic jam, there's an accident. So, but we managed it, didn't we? Okay, zooming in the car. It worked, right? So, but I was up until that moment feeling, okay, I've got to do something to make this work, but I was feeling a bit stressed. Yeah. So with our emotions, thank you so much for your question there, Steph, by the way. I appreciate you. With our
Thank you for explaining it so well. I appreciate that.
well, as somebody who has spent a lot of time living emotionally, I consider myself quite an expert on my emotions. And I know that certain emotions I've got like a highway to, you know, that we have some emotions that we don't experience very often, and it's like going on a walk through the bush, or you know, sort of through the woods that hasn't been walked on very much, and you have to sort of push your way through the shrubs and through the undergrowth, right? Those sorts of emotions I don't feel very often, and I have to work hard at getting there, right? So let me see now. Sometimes there have been times when enthusiasm has eluded me, right? And in order to find enthusiasm, I really have to work hard to get there, right? Whereas frustration, because things aren't falling into place quickly, because things are challenging me, because things are not going the way that I want them to go, then that frustration, I've got a highway to it. It's like, sort of, I see something out of place, or I see something starting to look as if it's not going to go the way I want it, and immediately I can go like that into frustration. Yeah. But recognizing these emotions and recognizing the state that we're getting into is really very important, because then we can make adjustments to it. So this is why I encourage you to explore the emotions that you are experiencing, and look for maybe some emotions that will help you a little bit better. What I'd like to do is just get my, here we go. It's not actually a whiteboard marker, but it will do. Because there's three things to master, I feel, that will really help us get on top of our emotions and become really confident with them, being able to change them at will, find an appropriate emotion that's going to suit the circumstances, and be able to help us to, sort of not feel bad about some of the ones that were labeled as inappropriate or whatever when we were younger, because sometimes they are appropriate. So we have a triangle here, all right? Let's say this is life mastery. This is happiness in here. This is all the fun stuff that you want to achieve. It's inside this this triangle of skills that if we can really come to grips with these skills, then we can achieve whatever it is that we want to get out of life. All right? So the first one is our physiology. Now, you may say, what's that got to do with our emotions? Absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. Because if you think about it, when you're feeling sad, what do you do with your body? If you thought of something that made you really sad, and you can remember, bring that memory up, what do you do with your body? What do you do with your head? What happens to your shoulders? Yeah? We start to use our body. What's that, Simone?
I was just saying, yeah, you droop your shoulders, and yeah.
Yeah. You start to use your body in a way that represents the type of emotion that you're feeling. So as that sadness comes to mind, and you start to sort of close over, right? Whenever I think of, for example, the most terrible year of my life, 2007. I don't think of it as quite so terrible now, because I know it was a huge year of growth for me, emotionally, spiritually, and the overcoming the challenges of that year was immense for me, because there were three things that happened in that year. There was the house that my husband and I were building, which was a straw bale house, burnt down. And I wasn't there to help protect it, help save it. There was nothing I could do. It just went up in smoke. And I was devastated by that. A few months later, my dad died over in England. And I flew to England, and I was luckily so fortunate to be there beside his bed when he died. And it was tragically sad, but it was also such a gift to me, because right at the end of that year, my mum died. And that really derailed me, whatever the word is. I thought my world had come to an end. And all I could do is curl up in the fetal position and cry for weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't think I've ever been so sad. Not when my dog died or anything, you know, it was the worst thing ever. So I know, as I think of that now, I can feel how strong I've grown out of that. But thinking back to how I was and using all of my body to sort of try and protect myself, you know, sort of like I was trying to sort of stop anything else happening to me as a broken person, right? Now, the flip side of that, if we were to think of something really happy, when you're happy, what do you do with your body? You tend to be more open, yeah? You tend to be more exuberant. You tend to sort of bounce off your toes. You tend to be louder, right? Your eyes sparkle. You're excited inside. You're really sort of galvanized with energy, right? So our body and our feelings are very, very closely aligned, and our emotions rather. Okay, so our body, we feel everything through our skin, and our emotions are very much aligned to how our body is working. Okay, so let's have a little practice of changing how we're feeling just like that. All right, because you've seen me just now in the last few minutes, as I started to talk about my parents and that terrible year, I could feel my tears, the tears were starting in my eyes. And I could feel my body sort of starting to get into that. But as soon as I wanted to start talking about being happy, the tears have dried up, and, you know, there's no sign within my body of that sadness. Is this making sense? Yeah? Good. Okay, so let's have a little practice now. I'd invite you all to stand up. Maybe not you, Janine, because you're lying in bed and you're sick. But next time you're up and about, have a go with this and see how quickly you can change your body. Yes, thumbs up. Good. So up you get, Simone. Bronya, you're still in the middle of dinner. Yeah. So, all right. I want you to be really happy for the moment. Okay? That's it. And we can't hear you here, so you can be as loud as you like. All right? So make some noise, do some stuff you do with your body when you're really happy. And you may play with your dog. Exactly. All right. So now, let's switch that now. Let's switch that now to feeling sad. Feel sad. Really notice what's happened to your body as you're feeling sad. Notice where that you've got some sensations in your body. They're in different places to where you felt The emotion of happiness. Yeah, that's it. And what are you doing with your face to feel sad? You've done something with your face. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let's go back to happy now. How quickly can you switch to happy? Just like that. Yeah, exactly. So let's go happy again. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Dancing away. Okay. Come and sit down again. Thank you for playing along. Now you've got your puppy dog all excited, Simone. I don't know what you're going to do. So what did you learn then? What did you learn? How quickly and how easily can you change the way you're feeling? And how does your body have an impact on how you're feeling? There was a study years ago with some clinically depressed people, right? They weren't just depressed, they were clinically depressed. And the study broke them into 3 groups. And one group did absolutely nothing for 2 weeks. Another group just sort of sat and talked. And a third group sat in front of some mirrors, like the mirrors that you find in change rooms that show you from all sides, those sorts of mirrors. And they grinned at themselves. They smiled. Yes, I know, exactly. That's what I feel too, Simone, sometimes. But they just smiled. They smiled at themselves for, I don't know, 20 minutes or something, for 2 weeks. Just sitting in front of a mirror, like this, smiling. And at the end of 2 weeks, they tested them again. And guess who was not clinically depressed anymore? The ones who sat in front of the mirror. So even just making up a smile can be all that you need to do to change the way you feel. Yeah? Which is why it is possible to fake it till you make it. The way we move our body is really important, has a huge impact on the emotions we feel and on how we're mastering our life. Yeah. Any questions on that? We're all good to go. There's a question. Oh, so that was interesting you put. Okay, you like that?
Bronya's hand's up, I think. Is that?
Oh, Bronya hasn't put her hand down, I don't think.
Oh, has it been up the whole time?
Yep.
Yeah, that was really interesting exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And it seems like a silly game, but it is so interesting to notice how our body is affecting how we're feeling and the emotion that comes with it. Right? All right, so now that's an F. All right, so the second thing we're going to talk about is your focus. Now, the focus for a lot of people can be around the things that they can't do. All right? Do you prefer to, or do you habitually focus on what you can't achieve versus what you can, or what's wrong versus what's right? You know, our brains are wired to look for things that are different, right? We're looking for danger all the time. So it's quite natural for us to look for what is wrong. And one of the first things I do in every coaching call with my clients is I ask them, what are we celebrating? What are we celebrating? Isn't that right, Simone? Yeah. So we need to practice looking for things that are good, things that are going well, things that are really going to enhance our experience of life rather than drag us down. Because wherever our focus goes, that's where all of our energy, that's where our passion, whatever level of passion it is going. So if we're thinking of negative stuff, if we're thinking about how things are hard, then the level of energy that we bring to something that we say, oh, bloody hell, it's so hard. Oh shit, I'm finding it so hard to find a way through this, you know. Who's done this before? Me, I'll put my foot up as well, you know. The more we focus on how something is hard, the harder it gets. Yeah. So what if, and this ties in with this last one, what if the language that we're using, what if the words we're using could make something easy? A very, very wise coach said to me not long ago, only ever make things as hard as you get benefit from. Think about it. Only ever make things as hard as you get benefit from. Because the chances are, if you're making something hard, there is a benefit for you in some sort of way. The benefit potentially being keeping you stuck. Right? So how can we keep the focus in the right direction and use the words that are going to help us get the right sort of emotion, the right sort of energy to help us master our life? It's quite simple, really. What it comes down to...
What was that phrase again? Sorry. I just want to make sure I got all the words.
Okay, only ever make things as hard as you get benefit from.
Oh, I got it. Yay. I thought I missed out a word of it. Oh, hang on.
You got it, Simone. So, to wrap this up full circle now, yeah? To wrap this up around how this is mastering those emotions that you've already created a list of. What's the story you're telling yourself? What are you focusing on? Oh, what's happening there, Steph? I saw that face. What's just happened? What's just clicked? Come on.
It's like nothing has meaning except for the meaning that we give it. So if it's hard, if we think it's hard, then it will be.
Yeah.
If we think we can do this, well, we will, and we'll have a crack at it. But so if I'm feeling exhausted, if I think I'm exhausted, I'm just going to get more tired.
Mm-hmm.
If I am tired and then go, oh, this is so exciting. How good is this that we can feel so alive? My body feels it. It'll change us. So, yeah, thank you, Nico.
You're welcome.
Did I catch it? Like, is that what?
Yeah, you can switch the focus.
Mm.
You can switch the focus anytime you like.
So looking at the list, I've written nervous,
Yep.
but I could actually flip that and go, this is pretty exciting, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, especially since nervousness and excitement feel exactly the same in our bodies.
Oh,
So physiologically,
yeah.
they're the identical sort of what's the word? They're the identical sort of sensations,
Okay.
nervousness and excitement. You know, that sort of tingling that you get of sort of, I'm about to jump, or maybe I'm about to hold back. It's that same sort of anticipation sort of feeling.
Like that butterflies. Sort of.
Butterflies, yes. Yeah. So butterflies can be from nerves or they can be from excitement.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So it's
Thank you.
really a question of what are you labeling it?
Ah.
So if you're experiencing a lot of anxiety in your life,
Mm.
there's a story around the need for experiencing the anxiety. There's the because your focus is on something that is causing that feeling, and then we tell ourselves, we write a story to justify the feelings, and because our mind is only ever going to tell us, you know, the same things as we repeatedly feel and tell ourselves. I mean, like, as I said at the beginning, we can find our way through the woods, through the bush, to a new feeling, to a new path, and it's quite hard work sometimes, or we can take the shortcut to something that we're familiar with. So we'd have to work hard at stopping what we're familiar to, what we're familiar with. So if we're familiar with feeling anxiety on a regular basis, recognizing that moment of, oh, there's that sensation, right? So it's come up. How can I change that to a different path? What's a different thing I can do so that I'm not feeling anxiety anymore, but I'm feeling, maybe what would be something a little bit less than anxiety?
What do you reckon, Simone? Nervous?
Yeah,
Worry.
worry.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at it more sort of, instead of being nervous about something, maybe it's like you said, it's like that excitement, but it's a more happy excitement, more like more than a negative excitement, more like positive excitement.
Mm-hmm.
So
Could there be some curiosity there?
yeah.
Yeah.
Anticipation.
Anticipation. Nice.
And I was going to say anticipation of the unknown. Like, so if you've gone from being in this state of anxious negative to being anxious positive, it actually changes your feeling in your body slightly, and it's breaking that mindset of here I go again down this path. So you're actually anticipating it in a more positive way, and it actually sits there and gives you a better feeling in your body. So you're not feeling down about the negative, about the anxious.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like that.
So looking at it positively rather than that whole, oh, hang on, this anxious feeling is coming up again. And I was saying before with my kids, sort of, one will bring me anxious negative, one will bring me anxious positive, but today they both thought the same. It was like finally we've got to a point of they've stepped me up that bit. So yeah.
Above the line.
Mm.
Yeah.
And there's I love what you just said, because you've triggered me into thinking of another client, Simone, who sorry, let me just change things around. I'll spotlight. There we go. There's another client of mine who talks a lot about anxiety, talks a lot about the challenges in her life, and I think because her feelings have for so long been validated by other people as being, you're depressed, you're clinically depressed, you have severe anxiety. She's been around people who have amplified the anxiety, and I've seen it as my role to try and reduce the anxiety, and redirect the anxiety. In fact, I mean, one of the things that she says, sort of drives her nuts, and drives lots of her friends nuts, is the fact that when they go anywhere, when they go into a restaurant, for example, for a meal, her first thing is her instinct is to look for all the exits. They walk in the door and she's checking it out. Oh, there's a door over there, there's a door there, right, that must be the toilets over there, right, maybe that window will work as an exit. She's checking out all the exits. And yeah, and I said, wow, you would be such a good person to have on team. If there was, going to be anything dramatic happen, you will know, you'd be able to lead the team out really quickly. I think that's a superpower, actually, because I tend to just dawdle into places and I have no idea, apart from the way I came in, if there's another exit. I just assume that I'll be able to get out the same way I came in. And here you are. I want to be in your team. Thank you very much. And it's really interesting how she's starting to see her anxiety, her severe anxiety. She started to see it at a lower level, so that it's sort of being deflated a little bit, and we're replacing it with curiosity around. So what could this mean? You really are a curious person, because as you look for things, you're very observant, and she's learning so much more of a different language than merely this high road to anxiety. Does that make sense? Because everybody for so many years has been labeling it as anxiety, and she's accepted everything that they've been saying, that's, oh my God, I've got this crippling anxiety. Yeah. And because it has become a crippling, debilitating, extreme anxiety, that is like having this huge anchor attached to her that just holds her in place, as opposed to trying to lighten it so that she can actually start to live a life of freedom. Right? Because we all really want to live and enjoy our lives. So being able to clearly label what we're feeling is so important. Yeah. Another side of this is that you might find there are two, how we all see things differently? You might be at the same party or something, and you walk away with two different or, we'll have 4 different versions of tonight, for example, broadcast around the world. And because of that, there's an impression that you're walking away with. There's an impression that I'm walking away with. And I've now actually totally lost what I started to say.
Different point of view, different impressions, different
Yes.
meanings.
Different meanings, exactly. That's right. So thank you so much for rescuing me there. Thanks for the laughter, Janine. But it's the different meanings, it's the different labels that we come up with that are so interesting. So, for example, if there was something that we could all really get angry about, like we might, for example, sort of get into a discussion, for example, about the war in the Ukraine. And that is just such a totally senseless waste of time and energy, so far as I'm concerned.
Or petrol prices.
And petrol prices, there you go. So you're focusing on the petrol prices. Somebody else is going to focus on the loss of life. There are other people who are going to be, sort of focusing
The
on
environmental damage.
Exactly.
Freaking hell, the world.
And also others who are going to be thinking, well, so what happens if Putin really does get let loose and, he hits the button on one of those nukes? What about us? So, there's all sorts of emotions that come up for us as we consider the angles of that story. Now, the reality is that none of us have any ounce of control in that scenario. So whatever we want to think or say about it, we can't change it, unfortunately, right? So the thing that we have control about is ourselves. So we can either decide and choose, which we have the right to be angry or to be frustrated or to be, sad about the environmental damage, or sort of really frustrated and pissed off about the petrol prices. We can take that approach, but if we live in that emotion, if we live there and maintain that feeling, that emotion the whole time, then that eats us away. So we need to recognize what we can control and what we can't. So that is another key to what we're focusing on. So noticing whether we're focusing on something that we can or can't control, really important. Because the bottom line here is that our experience of life, and therefore other people's experience of us, comes down to how well we can manage our emotions. Yeah. Otherwise, we're clashing the whole time. Right? So how's this landing for you? What do I need to know? What do I need to hear?
Oh.
Yeah, Steph.
I like this because, like, learning not to numb my emotions and learning to feel and recognizing what they feel, then what comes up, what I'm feeling might not be what I first think it is. Like, I might be feeling excited, but I might first think it's nervousness. So just to check in and see what's going on. So I'm really grateful for this, Nico.
Oh, you're
Absolutely.
welcome.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh.
You're welcome. Yeah, here comes April at the really last minute. Hello,
Thank
April.
you.
You're very welcome, Steph,
Yeah.
because the way we label things is really, really key. Also to the level of intensity that we can feel things.
I was just about to say to you, would you then turn around and you wouldn't dismiss the anxiety that you started off with, though, would you? You don't dismiss that as like
Recognizing it and acknowledging it.
So, yeah.
So seeing it for what it is the really important thing here, Simone. And then checking in to see, so is this an appropriate level of anxiety or whatever we might be feeling? Is it an appropriate emotion here? Because let's face it, there are times in our lives where it is appropriate to stamp our feet and do the 2-year-old sort of tantrum. But we don't have to stay there. You know, if you watch a 2-3-year-old child having a tantrum, they're often really, really loud and yelling until they get what they want, or until they get a distraction. Yeah. So expressing our emotions is really as important as knowing what they are. Because if we don't express them, if we don't connect and allow them out, allow them some sort of an airing, then we're just maintaining what our parents did to us when they said, go and sit in the corner, sit nice and quietly, just wait for me. And my poor kids, I did exactly the same to them because I didn't know any better, right? But now whenever I see parents trying to shush their kids, I just sort of say, oh, I just love their exuberance, or I love their energy. How fabulous to have so much energy. And the parents are going, no, they're so quiet, too noisy, this is not the right place. I couldn't give a damn if they're doing cartwheels in front of me. This is so much fun. I wish I was 3 or 4 or 5 again. I'd be doing cartwheels too, because that's what children are all about. They're so free from all of the expected norms of life. The way we've shut ourselves down is sad.
How would you approach someone who bottles their emotions and their feelings up, though? So how would you approach that sort of, so if you wanted someone to bring their emotions out, how would you approach that sort of thing? Like, because I know for a fact sometimes I just turn around and I just bite my tongue and I go, or hold it in or whatever, and I've gone, then all of a sudden it'll come out in a completely different way that I wanted it to.
So let me get this question right. So approaching somebody that I know bottles up their emotion when I know that they should be expressing something. Is that what you're asking me? Then a normal person.
How do you help them out to bring that emotion out more?
Yeah. I would say something like, do you know what? I think it's perfectly valid to feel bloody angry here. Because if we can normalize the emotions that people should feel and stop them being something that they've got to lock in a closet, then slowly but surely they will come out with them. Does that answer your question, Simone? Yeah. Because the normal experience of life, would be a healthy expression of our emotions. And I think that what holds people back from expressing their emotions is often a fear that the people around them will back away, that they will walk away and reject them, right? So if you've got somebody close to you who holds their emotions back, and there's an event that happens, and you say, oh my God, this is a really good moment to get fucking angry, right? And you invite them to get angry, and you stay there, and you say, that's right, you acknowledge them, you validate them for feeling that way. That builds so much trust. That's a real gift to somebody who's been holding their emotions back. Yeah. And not many people do that for each other. I feel so blessed to be in the company of so many coaches now, because I know that I can ring somebody up and say, I don't need you to fix anything. I don't need it, but I just need you to hear me out. And they will hear me, and they will just say, yeah, that sucks. Shit, that's awful. That is the pits. I'm sorry you've had to feel that way, Nico. Right? It's a gift that I've learnt in the coaching space. And I'm now teaching that to my clients, because if they can give that to their families, we can totally transform the experience of so many people. Yeah. And that's really what I want. I'm all about creating a ripple effect. Yeah. Did that land? Yeah. Cool. There's an expression that Tony Robbins says the whole time, which is change your story and you change your life. You've heard it too, Steph. Yeah. Change your story and you change your life. So the way we focus on things, the language we use, the story that we're telling ourselves is going to have a huge impact, together with our physiology, on the way we experience our lives. Yeah.
Yeah. And for those around us.
Definitely. Yeah. And the way those around us experience us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Mm.
That's beautiful, actually, too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I trust this has been valuable. I mean, it's
Immensely.
yeah, good. What I would love to offer everybody here is an opportunity to come and join me on a 5-day critic to confident makeover that I'm putting together at the end of March. It's literally just 5 days. It's totally free. We're just together for an hour each day, doing some exercises around exploring the way we criticize ourselves, the way we tell ourselves the story of our life, the way we're focusing, just unpacking this deeper and going further into what it means to be a confident woman these days. Yeah, bringing out the shine. So if you'd like to come and join me for that, just type I'm in, in the chat, and I will make sure that you get the details of that little makeover happening. When do we start on that? The 28th of March. Oh, Steph, you're in. Lovely. Beautiful. So good. And Simone, you're in for sure. Excellent. Wonderful. Well, we've lost Bronya. No doubt her dinner was more important. And Janine, I feel sure.
I'm
Okay.
here, but my phone's going off.
Your phone's going off. Awesome. Awesome. Steph, I'm glad you think this is awesome. It's been such a pleasure to have you ladies on board tonight. I've really appreciated your input, your company, your interactions with me. That's been really good. So, April, you arrived just as we were wrapping up. Oh, good, I know. April is my VA. So there's nothing else to be done except we will get in touch with you and send you. Oh, Bronya had another call. Okay. All right. Bless you, ladies. I will be, turning off the recording. Let me see now. Let me do that. And thank you.